Reconvene at 1:47 p.m. Okay, we are now to the point of dealing with agenda item 366, and it is the current year projects, I believe, Dan, that we're at.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. A number of the projects that are currently in progress have been noted today by officers. I'll just note a few others that I thought were topical or nearing completion. We're about to go to tender for the works, for the Barcaldine Rec Park Stage 3. It's just working through some costings there and packaging up that work.
Yeah.
Hasn't got anyone yet? No. We'll have to go quite run through about scoping and pricing.
Also in the community space, I think we've touched on most of those projects that are currently in progress in the community space that are yet to be completed today. In Goal 2, the water and sewage, the water projects there, the generator for the Alpha water treatment plant has been purchased and is currently being delivered. Additional to that project, to that cost that's currently there is also the wiring of that into the water treatment plant. So it's an auto changeover. Given that has come in a fair bit cheaper than budget, the fleet manager and the water coordinator have worked out to put a identical solution into the Jericho water treatment plant as well. So that means the changeover switch and the way it functions will be exactly the same at both plants. So it provides a bit of continuity there of the services that we're providing and makes it easier for us to maintain going forward.
That's a very good pitch, Dan, because you cut me off from saying, look, you heard me about to say that my mind was about to say, isn't that good? Because we actually knew that $60,000 was too much for that generator, but we put it there anyway, hoping for a saving. And as fast as we saved, we've delivered, but I agree.
There'll still be a significant saving, Mr. Mayor. So.
Jericho needed the discrete solution that could be activated completely remotely, because there's most likely the scenario moving forward is that it's unlikely there's going to be always someone available to go and manually switch that over. So that is actually a very good outcome to be able to deliver the generator and the changeover switch and an identical solution for Jericho all within the budget of one line item. That's a good outcome, which will result in not only enhance the outcomes, but it'll be a saving for operationally from overtime requests for very simple things.
The sewage manhole relining, we've deferred that project on the basis that we were looking to deliver that as part of a Rapid Water Sewage Alliance group. Unfortunately, there wasn't the interest from the other councils. I think it's more a case of they still needed some time to assess what manhole. It's not relining manholes, you paint it, I believe.
Work has undertaken, and at the most recent Outback Water Sewerage Alliance meeting, 3 councils, ourselves and 2 others have now expressed an interest for 24/5, Winton and Longridge. So
there'll be no work. We're not planning to deliver any work on that at the moment. The sewer manhole relining, though, there is a scope of works there to be delivered that was identified for Muttaburra and the high priority sites in Aramac as well. That budget will be a little bit short, so if we utilise the sewer manhole relining, we should get most of that scope of works done to keep the budget within line, and then we'll have to repitch the rest of the projects for next year's budget. Plant, a number of the items in that plant list have been ordered, and actually a large percentage of them are looking to be delivered over the next couple of months. So despite our fears that we would be ordering all the plant this year and waiting another 12 months for most to be delivered, there is a large percentage of the plant will be delivered prior to 30 June. So that is a good outcome. The other items there in the plant and workshops have been completed already this year. In the road space, as we've touched on, the cattle cross-loading facility has been to tender. We just haven't had any tenderers, I think, is the outcome there, so we're looking to go directly to a couple of suppliers to try and get a price so we can move forward with that. Some of the prep, the large amount of the prep work has been done to the site. Our roads crews over there in Alpha are just awaiting the design, I suppose, so they can know what earthworks they need to deliver from a roads perspective. The cross-loading facility we've got at the tender is really only the cross-loading facility itself. All the road infrastructure leading in and out of that is going to have to be constructed by us. So that is just awaiting to see what that final is so that that work can be undertaken. The school pickup upgrade, we're working towards a couple of different options there to try and get that delivered. The school holidays will make that time frame quite tight, so we're looking at some weekend options as well to see whether that will be able to allow work to be completed but then not have any interruptions with school time. The floodways project.
Mr Mayor, sorry, that should probably be 1/12/24 to 31/1/25 for your dates. You've got last Christmas, New Year.
There's a change of current school project. But there's a complexity with that one. The water main runs straight underneath where it was going. That's the old asbestos pipes.
Yeah.
That was a design to change that. How we deal with that.
That was when the project was planned to be delivered. Councillor, it just hasn't been updated to reflect what that final plan is to change to deliver it at this stage. The Tumbar Road, I mentioned Stagnant Road earlier, and they have been, the designs are currently in progress for both those, so that we can progress those. Stardians, the design is also in progress. I note that the Town Street reseals is currently in progress. RPQ is currently in Barcaldine delivering that work. I believe they're in Aramac and Alpha later this week, and then they'll move to the rural roads over the weekend and early next week. Box Street KNC is the second part of that project, the second tranche of funding for that project. We mentioned earlier that'll be started in the next week or so. Willow Street, we'll have a tender going out for that work to be delivered prior to 30 June. I note that the scope of that project is, I suppose, underfunded for the full scope of that project, so looking to deliver the first tranche of that work, $350,000 worth, prior to 30 June will be the plan. Gordon Street rehab, at this stage, that project is not proceeding this year. Still working through whether that'll be just deferred or whether that will be not delivered at this point in time.
What's the hold up there? I don't know.
I think the planning's been a bigger project than it's more money.
Yeah, I thought that was to start this year, just to get rid of that R2R funding and then roll into the next year. That changed.
That's a possibility. Isn't it? Yeah.
Right, okay. So isn't R2R, sorry, you corrected me earlier because Stardowns quite rightly is LRCI4, but R2R does definitely expire 30 June, correct? So if that 200,000 is not, just so it doesn't get spent, what's the plan? Is there only a plan B for that? Because if we don't spend it, we lose it.
Willow Street is the option. That full scope of that. Going off what Beach Street cost us earlier in the year, it's a very similar scope, except it's 3 blocks instead of 1,
Yep.
1.5. So looking at that, 550 would go pretty close to having that project full.
And then you defer the whole of Gordon Street rehab into 1 year, because we were briefed on that. It's a much bigger job than just 200,000, but I thought the idea was to overlap it, but then there was also concern around doing it during peak tourism season as well. So there was a bit of, I heard, mixed stories. So, okay, when will the call be made on that? Because you're going to need to know for Willow Street, aren't you?
So the plan is for the tender for Willow Street is we go out for the full scope of the entire project
And see what it comes in at.
and we phase it out from there.
Good call. With Aramac, I've just, there's Curtin Challenge Streets, there's a bigger picture of work there.
But I just want to say, Dan just said deferred or not delivered about Gordon Street. I heard you right, Dan.
Yeah, so we'll
Who makes a decision that it won't be delivered without it coming to council?
Oh, it would be this room, council. Would be us making the decision not to deliver it at all.
I think not deliver would be not deliver this financial year, not postpone it, it'd be just to push it all, because it's in the schedule, there's a big heap of money for next year. This was just the start work for it, I think there's like another 600,000 in the outer years.
600 all up.
Right, so there's 400. So if it didn't, it wouldn't be to cancel it, it would be just to defer it all into 1 year. Because we provided the feedback, as in council, provided the feedback that overlap in the middle of the year might not be the ideal time to do it.
Okay, well, deferred means probably next year or the year after, but not delivered to me means,
Sorry.
yeah, the line.
Should have
Dan's
said
talking
this
about
one.
purely in terms of this year that we're looking at here, whether it'll be delivered or not delivered.
Okay.
Right, so that, yeah.
Because when you have some of those streets, there's other streets need attention. It's holding the curtain shut, but I think.
And to be fair, actually, councillor, I think that you were the one that suggested that we have a look a bit harder to see whether Gordon Street would be the priority or whether there were others that might have needed to be picked up and prioritised over it.
Yeah, there's.
Remember that
McWong was the one that comes to mind. Yeah.
Mudabara raised their main street too, because they've got
That's ordinary work in that, in front of the
they've got
hall.
channels running across their street where the waterworks are going in.
So, Mr. McNair, how far down does Willow Street go? It starts at the tennis court, does it?
That's correct.
And goes how
Oh,
far
the
down?
works, yeah.
Yeah, right through to Boree Street.
Yes, I could get a vote.
So we've got to get out of here by 2
Excuse me,
o'clock.
Mr.
otherwise-
Mayor, can I be excused for a short period?
No, no one's going. Councillor Plum, you will cease from making those comments.
I'm sorry.
Order, no more. Proceed there, councillors will proceed in
Sorry,
time.
Mr. Mayor, now can I be just excused? Can I just leave the room? For
Oh, sorry, I thought you were
Oh, you-
about
you just-
to.
No.
No, never mind.
No, just for the record, left the.
Exceeding your authority, Mr. Mayor, at the last meeting.
I am, I'm going to watch this very
Said
carefully.
it from the roof.
Proceeding there.
Probably a project I do have some concerns around is the housing renewal project. So we talked about
Housing renewal, councillors, order.
the program for last carry forward. I believe we've got enough projects identified. We'll expend that, but we will have a large chunk of this 250,000, I believe, left over. I am working with the district managers at the moment to identify maybe bringing forward some of the projects identified for next year's program, which inspections are currently being taking place this month, so that should identify some projects there. So a lot of the work that's been undertaken has been able to be done as maintenance work. So as we've talked about in the budget reviews, the maintenance program for our housing renewal has been pushing the limit or over the budget. So the capital aspect hasn't really come through from that point of view. So we will look to see whether there is options there to make sure our housing is up to scratch, and whether we can bring back some of those projects from next year.
Can I just ask, do you think the majority of the cost overrun or the not done to budget is just because, is it material costs that's blowing out on you? What's the chief driver there towards over budget?
We had to make some assumptions at budget time about maintenance work versus capital work. And the initial thought was a fair chunk of the work that we needed completing was capital. Some major rehab of some of the housing. But as we've worked through the program, a lot of the work's been able to be done by as maintenance.
Okay.
And painting and things like that in a lot of cases, a lot more expensive than what we would have liked, I suppose. Painting is probably one of the items. It's been quite expensive. Then we walk into special projects. There is a number of projects there that are progressing slowly. Others are not quite there. So if we go through the master planning, we've touched on that. We'll have the master plan being presented to the April meeting for council. The deputation has been requested there. The flood study action plan for Aramac, Alpha and Jericho has completed the first review from QRA and is now currently going through a peer review. Once that's completed, that project can then go to tender for a contractor to lead the delivery of that project.
Alpha Showgrounds maintenance, sorry.
Yes, that is in procurement.
What's that?
That's the bottom rail of the arena. It's been replaced.
Did we identify, is that enough? Or we don't know because we're still working on the tour process. We just remember I did suggest that if it was going to be tight, maybe to talk to a couple of the particular user groups and they may be able to contribute some cash to get the project done properly. But yes, obviously post-procurement is the time to identify that.
I believe some of the procurement is also being increased, the volume is being increased because of the dip yards, so they're using a dual procurement process.
And some steel that's on hand and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, very, very good. Good from the left hand to the right.
The Jericho Water Treatment Plant Maintenance Program is being put together. I don't actually have a specific update on that one for this meeting. The water reservoir clean out is still scheduled for us. We're, I suppose, a little concerned about whether the water will be too hot for the reservoirs to be cleaned.
So I can report that's why ours hasn't happened, and along with Winton and maybe one other town in one of the other council areas at the Water Alliance meeting, when they were here last, they didn't have the suits that they require or the equipment they require. They did the work on the reservoirs in communities where temperature is not an issue. I'm of the understanding that there is there's a schedule for them to return to site when they've got that suitable equipment for Winton here. And I'm going to suspect that it's Blackall, but I'm not totally sure in that. Blackall hot water?
Boiling.
Yeah, okay, so it'll be Blackall. There you go. So it'll be Blackall here in Winton that will be done.
Okay, very good.
Mate, sorry. There was reference given, and this was not at the most recent one, this was actually at the November Water Sewerage Alliance meeting. There may need to be, the contractor was still, because they had to remobilise and perhaps some specialist equipment, but the regional coordinator was working with them that say, no, that was in the original scope, you knew that and didn't. So there's just a little bit of argy-bargy over the price there. The regional coordinator's taking up the good fight on our behalf, but that would be one to follow with Jolene or Matt, would be to see that whether we need to provide a slight increase to our allocation to get that done. Because we did see a detailed report here at the most recent meeting of the effects of the reservoir cleanouts in Longridge was one, but one of the Baku reservoirs, the insides of these reservoirs were filthy, mainly with mineral residue, but in some of the muddy water ones, so and the video inspections of ours indicate it's necessary that it be done, even though I think ours were done quite recently. But yeah, so the advice is keep the foot on the throttle, get it done, but we may have to pay a little more depending on the outcome of the regional coordinator's conversation with the principal contractor.
I've got there.
Yes, Councillor Rogers.
Have we always used clean tags?
Have we always used divers?
Yes.
It has happened before that way, but I don't know how long ago, Councillor Rogers. It was at the Water and Sewerage Alliance meeting the other day. It was a commonly known, that's how they did it, but I'm not saying that we have always done it that way. It's commonly been done in the region that way.
Yeah. And are we also cleaning tanks at Jericho and Alpha?
Yes, but I think at a different part of the schedule, correct, Dan?
That's part of that program.
No, all right, so no, it's also part of the same thing.
Thank you.
Mr Mayor, didn't they used to clean the tower with divers? released, did they do?
I've been here long enough to tell you the answer, sorry. And that's an insult to look at you, Jenny, but if anyone's going to remember it, maybe you.
I know from my memory, Mr. Mayor, they used to actually empty them and our staff got in and cleaned
Council
them.
staff, through you, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah,
cleaned
I
the,
thought they.
yeah, even the one on the ground, yeah. Previously they were emptied and staff did them, emptied down to a, you know.
Redundancies.
The solution that, so, all right, now that we've gone right into it, and it's a good, interesting question, Councillor Rogers. One of the solutions that's being looked at for the, what they call super hot reservoirs is the use of some drones. But that, I think, comes with the added cost, and that's what they're trying to avoid, and there is ways for them to do it, apparently. So, that, to be honest, I encourage if we need a further brief on it, we'll get Shane to get Jolene and Matt, who look after this for the Rapid Water and Sewage Alliance, to give you a briefing at the next meeting. But yeah, there's just a bit of argy-bargy about these super hot ones, Councillor. Not argy-bargy, but a technical conversation about which is the best way to go.
Mr. Mayor. I just think that if we've obviously done it before regularly, and I wouldn't mind getting an idea of what it costs us to do it ourselves compared to what it's going to cost us to do it through APIC.
Have we done it recently?
Oh, no, Mr. Mayor, it hasn't been done for some years.
I think when GBA managed that process for us, Councillor, they've always set that they do the cost breakup and advise councils whether it's better to do as a joint procurement exercise or to do individually. The regional coordinator normally just looks after that, but we can certainly ask for an individual breakdown on that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Chair, I believe in this case, each reservoir was quoted on individually, and that was how the prices was determined. So part of the submission of the tender was
To find the efficiency.
well, it was about us knowing what the they knew the specs of each reservoir, because each reservoir, both here and at the other councils that participated, it's different. So
Yeah.
height off the ground, size, width, depth. So they needed to understand that as part of the quotation, and it was each quoted individually. I've got the pump well and vac clean there as not commenced. That has, I believe that was undertaken last week. So that is progressing. The fuel monitoring system hasn't gone to tender to quote yet. We spoke about the ATM at Jericho and in the administration space, a large number of those projects. So I've marked the IT system as complete because the implementation of that new system is complete. The remaining funds are largely, we're not going to end up spending all that on this specific project, is I suppose the additional funds. The remaining monthly funds for that project now that we've gone on to a monthly payment plan for that ongoing cost. CCTV maintenance, that has been procured. I'm not sure, I don't think it's been awarded officially yet, but that is, quotations have certainly come back in for that. And a lot of the other items there we have mentioned. The training and development is continuing. It's just difficult the way that we're doing it to actually capture specific costs against those projects. So apprentices and trainees, that it wasn't a specific trainee, that was an additional trainee, but that is, I suppose, what that cost is. And the same with the training and development program. A number of those costs are just being captured as part of our training program, but there is a number of staff now we have on I suppose, training programs that are over and above what their position requirements require, and on that development program that we adopted as part of the budget, but then also the policy in December.
Perfect example of that, we've got a heap of stuff to project management training.
No, that was budgeted, specifically that one. But there's a couple of staff that have starting to work through a uni degree. Others are doing certificates and diplomas as well. So there is a number of opportunities there for staff to sort of request to get some additional training and some development in a specific field that they've got an interest in that is somewhat related to their role, but may not be required specifically for their role. The last point of note is is just around the flood damage progress. I touched on a couple of roads that had been completed this month, but we are starting to progress through and using this as a tool for us to have a close eye on how we're progressing across our flood damage program.
I think that last thing is a good thing. Saw it in your office a week ago or so. I think it's a good visual representation of where we're at with that whole package of flood damage works when there's, multiple submissions within the one event, to track them like that, and then just to see, we're tracking at about 19% completion, with about a year and a half to go. Is that right, roughly?
Yeah.
We've got until the 30th of June next year.
A bit under, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, a bit under half. That's probably not too bad a spot to be.
You almost cross your fingers that one event can
Get out.
tidied up before we get there. It never happens.
You're only one,
And that's what I say, almost.
yeah, you're only one not stupid wet season away from that being a reality though. Like this one's all but gone, or has gone. We got a good year at it this year, good run at it this year, and notwithstanding the amount of external capital works we've got to do, a lion's share of this could be knocked away by Christmas, especially with what you're suggesting Alpha Jericho crews are going to be doing for the remainder of this year. They could, this financial year, there could be a bit there.
And that's the same with the Aramac crew and those couple of large contracts going out as well. See a number of the, certainly the major contractors, highly likely the local ones. With work available to them over the year as well.
Just to define this a little bit, the light green chunk there, the 10% that's in delivery, that would include those 3 tenders that we let just before Christmas, wouldn't they? The Barcaldine and So if a tender's been let, it's light green. If it's yet to commence, that means the tender hasn't gone out or the tender hasn't been commenced.
The yellow is the ones that either are planned for work or haven't commenced yet.
So if it's green, someone's got the job.
And work's happening on that road. And I should note that is not value, that overall progress pie, that is number of roads. So while we have completed 9%, I do note a number of those are probably only a couple of K long. But saying that, a couple of our big jobs like Aramac Jericho and Texas Road are at 90% as well. So they're sitting in that delivery phase of 10%.
Everyone understand that? The pie graph doesn't represent value, it represents percentage of roads. Very good. Any questions on that project progress report, please? I got 3, 6, 7. Can I have somebody please move the community engagement coordinator's report? Councillor People, second Councillor Hanson, those in favour. 7-0. Questions?
Hazard.
No questions? May be hidden in here somewhere, but it's very much still work in progress. But between Lily and I, we have been able to secure the Governor for a visit to Barcaldine. We did attempt to secure her visit for the to mark the centenary of the clock. However, that just due to a scheduling conflict is not able to happen. But I think it's the day after the statutory meeting, or very close after the statutory meeting, the Governor is going to be here for the morning on her way to Cloncurry. I have worked very closely with Lily to put together a draft schedule. It'll involve school children, all manner of community group representatives from around here, and we've styled it a woolshed morning tea with the Governor. So she'll be here for a couple of hours, visit a couple of key facilities, do a pre-recorded video at the clock, which will be able to be then used as part of Council's commemorations of the clock 100 years celebration. So that work is well underway. It's less than a month away, or it's exactly a month away today.
15th of April, Mr Mayor.
Sorry, so it's
Well,
33 days away, that's
22.
right. For any of you that are councillors, obviously you will all get an invitation to that. We would like all the councillors to be here, business, community leaders. The school children are going to welcome her formally to the town hall. There'll be some presentations from different community groups to her and a presentation from her. So.
While we added that, the clocks, obviously we found someone how to fix the clock as well. Hopefully we'll be telling the time correctly on all 4 dials.
Through you, Mr Mayor, it's a funny thing. My memory of that clock is that it's just always been out of time. And this is going to sound ridiculous, but for a while I thought it was like different time zones, like based on like Tobruk or Europe or whatever.
Now you're the last person in the world that I thought would be that naive.
Only when I was yay high, like, because you see it in other places where they've got, mind you, admittedly, normally railway stations where it says Los
International
Angeles
airports.
in the movies, but most of my memory that clock has never really run true. Not so better more recently, but as a kid they were always like it'd be 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock and yeah, they're always out of whack.
Here, Mr Mayor, Councillor Arthur and I were at a meeting once, and I did make a comment. At least it's right twice a day. Every clock face, every clock face is on the same time at the moment, and it's right twice a day.
It's running well at the moment.
Look, it wouldn't be the first clock to be out of whack like that, and I'm sure if it stays in sync, the governor, who's a rather astute judge of things, will pick up on the fact that it's accurate and be impressed. So, it's good. All right, no further questions. Councillors, you are about to receive your last questions on notice, but I will stand on the principle that it's immaterial for you to ask more because you may be not here to get the answers. So, if you have anything of relevant to raise that you need someone to follow up on that's not necessarily a question, please do so, but there's probably not much point raising. So I'll ask someone to receive the report. Councillor Peebles, seconded Councillor Plum. Those in favour? Carried. Anyone got an issue that they just want to raise with the CEO so that he can follow up on it?
Yeah, I do, Mr Mayor.
Yeah.
Electricity prices and some of the bills that are going out at the moment. I've heard that they're up to $600 and $800 for a month. There's something going wrong with some of these electricity prices. I know that it's increased in price, but they're ridiculous. How can we look into that, please, and try and get some answers?
Just frightening. Some people I've heard worse horror stories of 600 and 800. They're just horrendous, the skyrocket.
Yeah.
Some of the Western ones are 300% more.
Councillor Rogers, you got anything to draw to the CEO's attention that may not necessarily get a response, but as in issues that might have been raised that you want to raise?
Really, Mr Mayor, there is people asking about funeral notices. Shane was going to have them put on the new website, but I'm just wondering how that has progressed. Shane?
We've asked LJQ to put a tile on the front with notices. I haven't checked to see whether that's happened yet.
Specifically funeral notices.
Yeah. Councillor Rogers mentioned last time she was looking for the last funeral that wasn't on there.
Yeah, but through you, Mr Mayor, I don't know, because it was a private funeral.
It was probably generally just so people can locate funeral notices.
Yeah, there isn't anywhere on there. It's very hard to locate any funeral notices on the new website. And also, is policies being updated? Are they still in the process of being updated? Because last week, none of the new ones them on there, but I see that some of them are there now, but not all of them. And then there's the 2 that we rescind. One's been taken off, but there's still one on there. So I'm assuming that it's in the process of being updated still.
But we are reviewing all content. Which policies in particular do you remember?
Well, just the ones that were amended in December, the HR 002, 005, 007, 008, 011, 013 and 015. They weren't there last week, but I've looked today, they actually have been put there. I think we're missing one still, but And then the ones that we rescinded, the HR 003 and the 009, one is still on there, but one's been taken off since last week.
Okay. I don't know
And also.
Councillor, what was the second number? Sorry, there's the two policies that have been rescinded.
They were HR 003 and HR 009.
9, the employee recognition and gifts.
Yeah. They were rescinded, but 009's still on there.
Yeah. That's the one that was adopted the 12th of December 2023.
Well, is it still the same policy? Because we rescinded that. Did we change the, isn't it in another policy now?
That's the new policy.
Yeah.
That's the policy we adopted, HR 009, that's the policy that we adopted and actually we did it retrospectively after the stuff.
Yeah,
Big
right, so it's the new one now.
some are updated and merged and
So, through the chair, HR 003 and HR 011 were the two policies rescinded. And HR, so that recognition of service policy was combined with the employee recognitions and gifts, which was HR 009.
Yeah, right, yeah.
It's not there.
So now it's HR 009. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
There's also still a lot of people complaining about trying to lift their wheelie bin over the railing at the dump. But I was thinking that we mightn't be here for an answer, but I was wondering whether there could be any investigation into a lift. If you can get lifts for wheelie bin, just hand lift, not like the truck, but just that might help people to leave at the moment the rail. Might have to wait until the new council.
Councillor Gleeson, anything to raise?
Mr Mayor, for the new council, the vendor panels, we were told late last year that that the council officials were going to have a meeting with the vendor panel, all vendor panel persons in all 5 communities. I don't believe that's happened, and I really believe that it should happen because I'd really like to see it happen. So, and when we get told as councillors, we get told something and then we get asked the question and then, it's going to happen next month or next week and it doesn't happen, well, it's not a good look. So could we please look into that in the future? Thank you.
Councillor Hanson?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Arthur?
That was fair.
Our street signs, can we just make sure that they're all, I know people pinch them, but if we could make sure that our streets are well signed, that tourists and
I know we've ordered some new ones to be put up. I think some have already been pinched, some new ones will be put up.
yeah. And if we could have some sort of report viewing all the progress of the Artesian Hotel. There's people really upset about that. It's our festival's coming up and it's got to look the way it is.
So they're my frustration.
The only news I can tell them on that is it's going to still be exactly the same as it is come festival time, because it's not enough time for the action to be taken even if it didn't happen. But I mean, there's still processes around the land being sold that's still got to be gone through fully.
There is a new one.
That's a start. Councillor Gleeson?
Quite a few weeks ago, I took a photo and sent a email, but I'm not sure whether you received it. There was 2, but one the most important one I thought was the sign you mentioned about the Reedy Creek sign on the Bowen Downs Road. It's been hit by a vehicle and it's been like that now for months.
So that was sent through the director of works and the senior work supervisor. But I had to check whether they replaced it, so you're telling me they haven't changed it.
Because it does not need renewing. If somebody tells you it needs renewing, it doesn't need renewing. It just needs fixing up and straightening up. Because it's on a big main highway, almost laying down. It just looks uptight. Thank you.
All right, no more?
Through Mr. Mayor, could I ask about the temporary fencing that's around the Artesian Hotel? What that costing us, or who's paying for that?
We own that.
Excuse me, yes, it's owned by.
That's ours, councillor Rogers.
Bangkok?
Sorry, that's our fencing, we own it.
Yeah, it's our fencing, isn't it?
Yes,
Because I remember that we were charging the owner of another building when we were fencing their premises off because of their asbestos. So are we charging the new owners?
yes, councillor.
The other thing is, in the future minutes or agendas, can we have a table of the current employee numbers broken down into their categories each month, just like in the annual budget, annual report?
Just in general, in each town, each depot, each office, how far do you want to go down?
No, just the same as what is in the annual report I'd be happy with.
I think Councillor Rogers probably missed that first discussion this morning, jobs and numbers.
The report, the works report, Shane, you said you were going to take that over because we haven't had one in the agenda for the last 2 months.
Yep. So we had a bit of a general discussion today as part of the CEO's report. But
Yeah.
with all the detail, there's a bit of work to grab all that for a handover.
Yeah, I did get, when Councillor Arthur asked for the community employer numbers broken down, but the table that I like to look at is the one in the annual report, and it's fairly simple. But if you wanted to go further into further detail, I wouldn't be against that, but yeah, it's, the overall numbers would be great.
Very good. I'll make it be an issue for the new council to look at, agendas. No more?
And also, water main flushing, do we do water main flushing regularly now, or is that a historical thing?
That's the second time we've done it this term. I reckon the last time was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, not air scouring.
Oh,
No, a general staff will
Sorry.
start, there's been a few years where they haven't, and with staff on board now, that's a regular now.
Yeah, but I think it used to happen every 3 to 6 months, but yeah. I didn't know whether we stopped that because of some other environmental reason or whether it was just not happening due to other reasons.
Yeah, just lack of maintenance planning, but that's now been rectified.
Thanks, Sharon.
very good. All right, well, we might close the meeting and then we'll have a brief chat about this master plan for the not master plan, sorry, contract delivery. Right, meeting closed at 2:31.